Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gospel reading for this week. We are in the chapter called In the Company of Devotees at Shyampukur, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room with the devotees. He was talking to a Christian devotee named Misra. Misra was born of a Christian family in northwestern India and belonged to the Quaker sect. He was 35 years old. Though clad in European dress, he wore the ochre cloth of a sannyasi under his foreign clothes. Two of his brothers had died on the day fixed for the marriage of one of them, and on that very day Misra had renounced the world. Misra: it is Rama alone who dwells in all beings. Sri Ramakrishna said to the younger Naren within Misra's hearing, Rama is one, but he has 1,000 names. He who is called God by the Christians is addressed by the Hindus as Rama or Krishna or Ishvara, and by other names. A lake has many ghats. The Hindus drink water at one ghat and call it jal. The Christians at another, and they call it water. The Muslims at a third, and they call it pani. Likewise, he who is God to the Christians is Allah to the Musliman, or the Muslims. This is one of the most important truths, I think, for us to understand in this modern time, this world. Because when the world was much less populated, we didn't bump into each other as much and didn't know what people were doing in different places, and so it wasn't such an issue. But now we've got everybody living next door and down the street, and the days for understanding religion are upon us. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot more of this dissension and this fighting. I grew up a fundamentalist Christian and went to seminary, actually, to become a preacher back in 1983. And I found the Vedanta in 1999. And I have to tell you, when I first joined the monastery, I felt a little conflict inside. Which was a surprise to me, actually, because I had kind of separated from my Christianity some 10 years before that. But I felt a little bit of unease, like I was betraying my Jesus, that somehow I was being untrue to him. And I really wrestled with that, and I wrestled with it in the shrine, in my prayers and in my meditations. And one day I just was sitting there, and the thought came to me quite strongly from Ramakrishna on the shrine, saying, my name is Jesus. He says that these avatars, the avatar, there's not really a plural for avatar, because all of them are one. Because an avatar is not a person, it's not a personality, it's not an ego or a place in history. An avatar is, as Ramakrishna says, it's a whole. It's an absence of egoism, an absence of personality, an absence of time and place in history. It's a whole through which we can see what God is when he's manifested most purely. That's why Jesus made the saying that I and the Father are one. He who has seen me has seen the Father. It's because you're looking through the whole of Jesus at God. And throughout history, we've had these people, these avatars showing up. We think of them as different persons, but each one of them is the same whole through which God is seen. And one was called Krishna, one Rama, one Buddha, one Jesus, one Ramakrishna. All of them the same. And this was a beautiful thing to me, because one of the things that had always bothered me growing up in my Christian faith, as it was for me, I know it's not the same for everybody, it always disturbed me that I always had to meet people and immediately decide, is this person heaven or hell? Is this person good or bad? Are they on my side or are they against me? And it just troubled me that I couldn't just approach the world as friend, that I couldn't just approach the world as brothers, like we used to call everybody at church, brother such and such, sister such and such. But that stopped when the sermon was over, when we walked outside of the building. It was no longer brother and sister. And I thought, well, what's that difference? And so we see here, Ramakrishna teaching us, showing us of this liberality. If you look at the teachings of Buddha, the essence of Buddhism, the essence of Vedanta, the essence of all of the world's religions, first and foremost, all of them will say that love is the one most important thing. When you've mastered that, then you can move on to the second thing, which is truth. And once you've mastered that, you can go to the third thing, earnestness and sincerity. And you can get pretty far down that list before you start coming into difference, before you come into the things which we might argue about in the particulars. And when you look at that list, when you get down to numbers 9, 10, where some of the differences will start to show, and you look at the quality of the essentials, you realize that these things that we argue about, that we judge over, are ridiculous. Ridiculous things, small things, the things that really do not matter. And if we're practicing the top 3, we're not going to argue about the bottom 100 or whatever they are. And so this beautiful lesson here, we have a Christian faithful to his Quaker tradition, and under his clothes he wears an orange ochre cloth of renunciation, right? In the same spirit as the disciples of Jesus, of Peter and Paul and Timothy and all of those beautiful names of the books in the Bible, the letters that are written in the New Testament, that they were all brothers, and that this brother and sister is a thing that goes well beyond the walls, well beyond the atmosphere of the planet, actually, if we ever get that opportunity. And so here he tells us, Rama is one, but he has 1,000 names. You can, and obviously for a Christian audience, say Jesus is one, but he has 1,000 names, right? That we worship this one divinity through these personalities, which we assume only because we think of ourselves as a personality, as a person defined by history and place. Misra, he says, Jesus is not the son of Mary. He is God himself to the devotees. Now he, pointing at Ramakrishna, is as you see him. Again, he is God himself. You are not able to recognize him. I have seen him. I've seen him before in visions, though I see him now directly with my eyes. I saw a garden where he was seated on a raised seat. Another person was seated on the ground, but he was not far advanced. There are 4 doorkeepers of God in this country. Tukaram in Bombay, Robert Michael in Kashmir, himself, meaning Sri Ramakrishna, in this part of the country, and another person in eastern Bengal. Master, do you see visions? Misra, Sir, even when I lived at home, I used to see light. Then I had a vision of Jesus. How can I describe that beauty? How insignificant is the beauty of a woman compared with that beauty? After a while, Misra took off his trousers and showed the devotees the Garawa loincloth that he wore underneath. Presently, Sri Ramakrishna went out on the porch. Returning to the room, he said to the devotees, I saw him, meaning Misra, standing in a heroic posture. As he uttered these words, he went into samadhi. He stood facing the west. Regaining partial consciousness, he fixed his gaze on Misra and began to laugh. Still in an ecstatic mood, he shook hands with him and laughed again. Taking him by the hands, he said, You will get what you are seeking. What a beautiful, oh my gosh, what a beautiful scene. But you see all of that significance happening there, even Ramakrishna in that moment, because he, confronted with this Christian in his presence and talking in this beautiful way, Ramakrishna himself goes before the mother inside, and mother gives him that beautiful vision with Mishra in it, saying, yes, indeed, he is one of yours, And then Ramakrishna in that ecstatic mood, laughing, shaking hands, thrilled to death, and facing west, which I think is significant, looking at you and me, in the future of what would come, where this world slowly moves toward that unity, toward that love for one another. Regaining partial consciousness, he fixed his gaze on Mishra and began to laugh. Mishra with folded hands, Since that day I have surrendered to you my mind, I have surrendered to you my soul, and I have surrendered to you my body. Sri Ramakrishna was laughing, still in that ecstatic mood. The master resumed his seat. Mishra was describing his worldly life to the devotees. He told them how his 2 brothers were killed when the canopy came down at the time of the marriage. Sri Ramakrishna asked the devotees to take care of Mishra. This is Sangha. This is Sangha. Dr. Sarkar arrived. At the sight of him, Sri Ramakrishna went into samadhi. Then his ecstasy abated a little, and he said, "First, the bliss of divine inebriation, and then the bliss of Satchit Ananda, the cause of the cause." Doctor: "Yes." Master: "I am not unconscious." The doctor realized that the master was inebriated with divine bliss. Therefore he said, "No, you are quite conscious." Sri Ramakrishna smiled and said, "I drink no ordinary wine, but the wine of everlasting bliss. As I repeat my Mother Kali's name, it so intoxicates my mind that people take me to be drunk. First, my guru gives me molasses for the making of the wine. My longing is the ferment that transforms it. Knowledge, the maker of the wine, prepares it for me then, and when it is done, my mind imbibes it from the bottle of the mantra. Taking the mother's name to make it pure, drink of this wine, says Ram Prasad, and the 4 fruits of life are yours." This is one of the things, we don't get to see this very often. And I think consequently, a lot of our ideas in this faraway land from India, a lot of our ideas of religion and of spirituality are so dry, so boring, because we haven't seen somebody staggering in divine bliss, in the drunkenness of love, that overflowing joy, that when you see that on someone's face, on one of these men's or women's faces, that love, that openness in the eyes, that warm, just red softness around the way that they look at you. And when they look at you, not looking at your face, not looking at your skin, not looking at your mind or your personality, but consciously looking beyond all of that to the point where you become aware of something beyond that in yourself, in a way that you never saw or never felt before until you've had somebody look at you, the real you, and then say a few words, just a few words directly to that you. And your world will come apart. Your heart will break open. You'll understand that everything is okay, that you are fine, that you are loved, you are safe, you're wonderful. You're all the things you ever dreamed to be. You just have to crack the egg of the ego and let it out, let it show. That's what liberation is. Liberation is that cracking of the ego. The fence comes down, the bars go away, those things that limit you from being what you've always desired to be. That you that doesn't get angry, that you that isn't jealous, that you that is not afraid, that you that loves without reason, without cause, that is moved by love. He drinks no ordinary wine. As the doctor listened to these words, he too almost became ecstatic. Sri Ramakrishna again went into a deep spiritual mood and placed his foot on the doctor's lap. A few minutes later, he became conscious of the outer world and withdrew his foot. He said to the doctor, "Ah, what a splendid thing you said the other day. We lie in the lap of God. To whom shall we speak about our illness, if not to him? If I must pray, I shall certainly pray to him." As Sri Ramakrishna said these words, his eyes filled with tears. Again, he went into ecstasy and said to the doctor, "Oh, you are very pure. Otherwise, I could not have put my foot on your lap." Continuing, he said, "He alone has peace who has tasted the bliss of Rama." What is this world? What is there in it? What is there in money, in wealth and honor and creature comforts? O mind, know Rama. Whom else should you know? The devotees were worried to see the master's repeated ecstasies in this state of ill health. He said, "I shall be quiet if someone sings that song, the wine of heavenly bliss." Narendra was sent for from another room. He sang in his own sweet voice, "Be drunk, O mind. Be drunk with that wine of heavenly bliss. roll on the ground and weep, chanting Hari's sweet name. Fill the arching heavens with your deep lion roar, singing Hari's sweet name. With both your arms upraised, dance in the name of Hari and give his name to all. Swim day and night in that sea of the bliss of Hari's love. Slay desire with his name, and blessed be your life. The Master, oh yes, and that one, upon the sea of blissful awareness. And Narendra sang, upon that sea of blissful awareness, waves of ecstatic love arise. Rapture divine, play of God's bliss. Oh, how enthralling. Narendra sang again. Meditate, O my mind, on the Lord Hari, that stainless one, pure spirit through and through. How peerless is the light that in him shines. How soul bewitching is his wondrous form. How dear is he to all of his devotees. Ever more beauteous in fresh blossoming love, that shames the splendor of a million moons. Like lightning gleams the glory of his form, raising erect the hair for very joy. Worship his feet in the lotus of your heart. With your mind serene, with eyes made radiant with heavenly love. Behold that matchless sight, caught in the spell of his love's ecstasy. Immerse yourself forevermore, O mind, in him who is pure knowledge and pure bliss. Dr. Sarkar listened to these songs attentively. When that singing was over, he said, that's a nice one. Upon the sea of blissful awareness. At the sight of the doctor's joy, Sri Ramakrishna said, the son said to the father, Father, you taste a little wine, and after that, if you ask me to give up drinking, I shall do so. After drinking the wine, the father said, Son, you may give it up. I have no objection, but I am certainly not going to give it up myself. The doctor and the others laughed. The other day, the Divine Mother showed me two men in a vision. He, meaning the doctor, was one. She also revealed to me that he will have much knowledge, but it is a dry knowledge, smiling to the doctor. But you will soften. Dr. Sarkar remained silent. It's Friday, November 6th in 1885. It was a day of the Kali Puja, the worship of the Divine Mother, Sri Ramakrishna's chosen ideal. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, the master, clad in a new cloth, stood in the south room on the second floor of his temporary residence at Shyampukur. He had asked M to offer worship to Siddheshwari at Tantaniya in the central part of Calcutta, with flowers and green coconut, sugar, and other sweets. After bathing in the Ganges, M had offered the worship and come barefoot to Shyampukur. He had brought the prasad with him. Sri Ramakrishna took off his shoes and with great reverence ate a little of the prasad and placed it a little on his head. Now, I love that idea. I don't know, I guess during sannyas, but no other real time in my life have I ever felt the need to take off my shoes because I was carrying something so sacred to me, so beautiful to me. And to see that here, and Ramakrishna, even to receive that prasad from that worship, takes off his own shoes to hold it. At the master's request, M had purchased 2 books of songs by Ram Prasad and Kamala Kanta for Dr. Sarkar. M, here are the books of songs by Ram Prasad and Kamala Kanta. Master, force songs like these on the doctor. How are you trying, O my mind, to know the nature of God? Who is there that can understand what Mother Kali is? O mind, you do not know how to farm. Fallow lies the field of your life. Come, let us go for a walk, O mind, to Kali, that wish-fulfilling tree. M, yes, sir. Sri Ramakrishna was pacing the room with M. He had put on his slippers. In spite of his painful illness, his face beamed with joy. Master, and this song is also very good. This world is a framework of illusion. Yes, sir. Suddenly, Sri Ramakrishna gave a start. He put aside his slippers and stood still. He was in deep samadhi. It was the day of the Divine Mother's worship. Was that why he frequently went into samadhi? After a long while, he sighed and restrained his emotion as if with great difficulty. It was 10 o'clock. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on his bed, leaning against the pillow. The devotees sat around him. Ram, Rakal, Niranjan, Kalipada, M, and many others were present. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to his nephew Hriday, talking about his nephew Hriday. Master, Hriday is even now clamoring for land. He said to me one day while he was living with me at Dakshineshwar, "Give me a shawl or I will sue you." The Divine Mother removed him from Dakshineshwar. He pestered the visitors for money. If he had stayed with me, all these people could not have come. That is why the Mother removed him. R also began to act in that way. He became querulous. He was asked to accompany me in a carriage. When he was asked to accompany me in a carriage, he would hold back. He would be annoyed if the other youngsters came to me. If I went to Calcutta to see them, why, he'd say, "Why should you bother about them? Will they renounce the world?" If I wanted to offer refreshments to the other young boys, I would be afraid of R and would say to him, "Take some yourself and then give it to them." I came to know that he would not stay with me. Thereupon I said to the Divine Mother, "Mother, don't remove him altogether like Hriday." Then I came to know that he was going to Vrindavan. If R had stayed with me at that time, all these youngsters would not have mixed with me. He left for Vrindavan, and these young boys began to visit me frequently. R, humbly, "Sir, that wasn't really in my mind." Ram to R, "Do you think you understand your mind as well as he does?" R remained silent. The Master to R, "Why should you feel that way? I love you more than a father loves his son. Now please keep quiet. You no longer have that attitude." After a time, the devotees went to another room. Sri Ramakrishna was sent for R and said to him, "Did you mind what I said?" R, "No, sir." Sri Ramakrishna said to M, "It is the day of the Kali Puja. It is good to make some arrangements for the worship. Please speak to the devotees about it." M went to the drawing room and told the devotees that what the Master had said. Kalipada and the others busied themselves with the arrangements. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Sarkar arrived, accompanied by Professor Nilmani. The doctor listened to the report of the illness and prescribed medicine. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "These 2 books have been purchased for you." M handed him the books. The doctor wanted to hear some songs, and at the Master's bidding, M and another devotee sang, "How are you trying, O my mind, to know the nature of God? You are groping like a madman locked in a dark room." Then they sang, "Who is there that can understand what Mother Kali is? Even the 6 darshanas are powerless to reveal her. It is she, the scriptures say, that is the inner self of the yogi, who in self discovers all his joy. She, that, of her own sweet will, inhabits every living thing. The macrocosm and the microcosm rest in the mother's womb. Now, do you see how vast it is? In the Muladhara, the yogi meditates on her, and in the Sahasrara, who but Shiva has beheld her as she really is? Within the lotus wilderness, she sports beside her mate, the swan. When man aspires to understand her, Ram Prasad must smile. To think of knowing her, he says, is quite as laughable as to imagine one can swim across this boundless sea. But while my mind has understood, alas, my heart has not. Though but a dwarf, it would still strive to make a captive of the moon. That's beautiful. So I'm going to ask a question to betray my ignorance here. Did anybody notice the Muladhara? Is that the heart? No. No? Okay. I see. And the Sahasrara is at the top of the head. Again they sang, O mind, you do not know how to farm. Fallow lies the field of your life. If you had only worked it well, how rich a harvest you might reap. Then, come, let us go for a walk, O mind, to Kali, that wish-fulfilling tree, and there beneath it gather the four fruits of life. It's beautiful to think of our lives in this way, and it's good to take this warning, this song. It's one of the songs that one of the monks wrote in San Francisco, O mind, you don't know how to farm. And it's a really important concept to really hold on to, because life is going to pass, no matter how you spend it. You know, you can sleep, you can keep yourself entertained and distracted, you can look for pleasures, you can build houses, you can do all of these things. But when you're in that last part of life, which of them will give you joy? Which of them will bring you happiness? You know, I think I used to know, I do know my good friend Bill. He was an elder care. And I can't tell the name of the person you would recognize. It is a rather wealthy woman of a very prominent family in San Francisco. They built the Symphony Hall there. And my friend Bill was hired as her elder care person. And she couldn't get out of bed. She was in a diaper. And she was stuck in that room, couldn't leave that room. She owned many houses. The one that she was in is one of the biggest on Billionaires Row on Broadway there in San Francisco. And, you know, when Bill would come down to the monastery, we'd sit and talk, and he would talk about how striking it was that she owned all of this land, and she did all of these things in her life, you know, these big debutante balls that went on, and the openings for the opera and the symphony, and she was always honored at all of these, and now she's in a bed in a single room that she can't get out of. And he said the saddest part was in the next room, he could hear, you know, the maids talking badly about her. Sometimes the kids would be there talking about who was going to get what and how long it was until she was going to pass away. And I just thought about that in terms of this kind of emphasis here. You know, you can own all those homes, but in your last days, you can't enjoy them. They aren't really yours. And, you know, I've often thought about that day when I may or may not, I don't know what those days will be like, but to end up in an old folks' home, you know, which is a common fear of everybody. And I sit there and I think, you know, sometimes when I'm falling asleep at night, I sit and wonder, what if this was an old folks' home and I can't get out of this bed? Am I all right? How do I feel right now? Can I sustain this? Is it enough in my inner world to sustain me? Can I touch enough joy in my heart for no reason at this moment? It's a really good test, like even here and now, in this moment. Be fully here. Are you okay? Are you content? Are you happy? Because that's your nature. That's who you are in your essence. Pure joy, pure bliss. Just what we've been reading about here in the Master. His fence is down. That's why he can affect these people like this. That's how he can draw this feeling from me across 150 years and several continents and an ocean. That dwells within us. That is ours. That's our by right. That's our inheritance. And so he's singing, O mind, you don't know how to farm. Fallow lies the field. You haven't done the work. You haven't plowed. You haven't planted. You haven't watered. You haven't weeded. You've just coasted on. And now you find yourself with no field, no harvest. Right? And so he's not saying this for guilt or any nonsense like that. What a waste that would be. He's saying this for inspiration. You've got a field. It's in your heart. You can cultivate it. to bring you the greatest joy in a gray, dimmed room that smells like urine with no one around you to visit. And you can find joy. You can inspire the people that come to change your diaper. You can give bliss to the boy or girl that wanders into your room by accident and sees you. You know, this is life. And this is the potential of spiritual life. And this is what I was mentioning when I started, you know, that here in this land we don't often see that. But it is available. There are people who have farmed their fields. It's demonstrable, you know. And it doesn't take much. Mother is very kind in the first few years. She always blesses people when they first start out, you know. That's when most people have they taste a little bliss, or they have a little vision, or see a little bit of light, right? She wets the whistle, as it were, and then nothing. For 10 or 15 years or longer, maybe, I don't know. But this is your nature, is the point. They continued, "Behold my Veena, my dearly beloved, my lute of sweetest tone. If tenderly you play on it, the strings will waken at your touch, the rarest of melodies. We moan for rest, alas, but rest we can never find. We know not whence we come, nor where we float away. Time and again we tread this round of smiles and tears. In vain we pine to know whither our pathway leads, and why we play this empty play." They sang again, "Hold me fast, O Nitai. I feel as if I shall pass away. Bestowing Hari's name on men, I raised high waves in the river of my love. And now upon its raging stream I am carried helplessly. With grief my heart is laden down. Alas, Nitai, to whom shall I speak of it? Behold, I am swiftly borne away by the current of man's deep woe." Then they sang, "Jagai, Madhai, oh come and dance, chant Hari's name with fervor. Come, one and all, and take Radha's love. The high tide of her love flows by. It will not last for very long. Oh, come then, come ye, come, one and all." Listening to these songs, 2 of the 3 of the devotees, among them Manindra and Latu, went into a spiritual mood. See, you have these young boys, these young devotees, experiencing these bhavas, these divine moments of divine love. Latu was seated by Niranjan's side. When the singing was over, the master spoke with the doctor. The previous day, Dr. Pratap Mazumdar had prescribed Nux Vomica for the master. Dr. Sarkar was annoyed to hear of it. To give him Nux Vomica? Why, I'm not dead yet. The master, smiling. Why should you die? God forbid. May your avidya die. Right? Avidya is darkness, that which takes you toward multiplicity, away from the oneness, away from love. Doctor, I never had any avidya. Dr. Sarkar understood avidya to mean mistress. Master, smiling. Oh no, I didn't mean that. In the case of a sannyasi, his mother avidya, ignorance dies giving birth to a child. Viveka, discrimination. Right? So what's he saying there? In the case of a sannyasi, that's a renunciate, his mother, avidya, ignorance, dies giving birth to a child, viveka. Viveka is awakening. Right? So avidya, ignorance, dies giving birth to awakening and discernment. Right? Discrimination, knowing what is real. Ramakrishna gives us that secret formula. If it changes, it's unreal. If it's not changing, that alone is real. And I know I've told that story of when I first read that in the Gospel when I was a young monk just starting out. I'm in some ways still a young monk. But when I was just starting out and I read that and I went up in the shrine, I was just thinking, trying to find that thing that didn't change. It's like, what is that thing that doesn't change? You know, just going through list after list after list. And finally, you know, I went down for lunch with Swami Prabhutananda. And I told him, I said, Maharaj, Ramakrishna says that which does not change alone is real. Nothing else is real. And I said, I I can't imagine anything. I can't think of a single thing that doesn't change. And I remember how Prabhupada looked at me, that smile, that fatherly kindness in his eyes, that gentle, I could see him patting me on my head thinking, you poor thing. And he said, did you consider that which was looking? And boy, did that make a difference to me. I thought, that me, that has been the same all these years, looking out, watching my body change, watching my life change, watching my jobs change, watching all these things change. That me has never been any different. It's always been there. The mind it looks through is different. The body that it feels through is different. But it itself has always been the same. And that is the you that you have to establish yourself in. That you which is not affected by mind. That you which cannot be burned, cannot be wedded, cannot be bothered. Right? That you which will remain through all the changes of your mind as it does, and through the changes. And that's what it means at that death, to touch immortality. Because for those of us who die thinking that we're the body, it'll be terrifying. We'll think we're dying. We'll feel the body dying. We've always thought that's who we were, and so we watch it die. And that panic, that fear in that silence. You know, when we lay there in those last moments, the body becoming quiet, the feeling stopping, the heart slowing. What a terror if you think that's who you are. You know, and then that silences, and then the mind starts to go silent. Thought is not there anymore. And you've always thought you were your own thoughts. Oh my gosh, this is me, it's stopping, I'm dying. And that terror. But for those of us who've done the practice, who've done that work, who've not left the field fallow, we'll watch the body grow silent, and what a peace will remain. We'll watch the mind go silent, and for the first time we'll be free, not defined by our thought, not limited by our moods, not manipulated by our emotions. And we'll touch that infinite silence and find that peace that passes understanding. No fear, acceptance, welcoming, an awakening into a newness, a difference. And beyond that, who knows? Haribalav arrived. Sri Ramakrishna said, I feel very happy when I see you. Haribalav was a man of very humble nature. He sat on the bare floor and not on the mat. He began to fan the master. He was the government lawyer at Cuttack. Professor Nilmani sat near them. Excuse me. Sri Ramakrishna did not want to offend him. Casting his glance on the professor, he said, Oh, what a grand day it is for me. A few moments later, Dr. Sarkar and Professor Nilmani took their leave. Haribalav also departed, saying that he would come again. It was the dark night of the new moon. At 7 o'clock, the devotees made arrangements for the worship of Kali in Sri Ramakrishna's room on the second floor. Flowers and sandal paste, vilwa leaves, red hibiscus, rice pudding, various sweets and other articles of worship were all placed in front of the Master. You know, here we're going to have on the 11th the worship of the Divine Mother. And so you'll see probably a lot of those exact things laid out all over the worship here in front of the deity, the worshiping of the Divine Mother, that you unchanging within. Sri Ramakrishna asks the devotee to bring some incense. A few minutes later, he offers all the articles to the Divine Mother. M is seated close to him. Looking at M, he says to the devotees, meditate a little. The devotees close their eyes. Presently, Girish offers a garland of flowers at Sri Ramakrishna's feet. M offers flowers and sandal paste. Rakal and Ram and the other devotees follow him. Niranjan offers a flower at Sri Ramakrishna's feet, crying, Brahmamai, Brahmamai, and prostrates himself before him, touching the Master's feet with his head. The devotees cry out, Jai Ma, hail to the Mother. In the twinkling of an eye, Sri Ramakrishna goes into a deep samadhi. An amazing transformation takes place in the Master before the very eyes of the devotees. His face shines with a heavenly light. His two hands are raised in the posture of granting boons and giving assurance to the devotees. It is in the posture one sees in the image of the Divine Mother. His body is motionless. He has no consciousness of the outer world. He sits facing the north. Is the Divine Mother of the universe manifesting herself through his person? Speechless with wonder, the devotees look intently at Sri Ramakrishna, who appears to them to be the embodiment of the Divine Mother herself. The devotees begin to sing hymns, one of them leading to the rest, the following in chorus. Girish sings, "Who is this woman with this thick black hair, shining amidst the assembly of the gods? Who is she, whose feet are like crimson lotuses planted on Shiva's chest? Who is she, whose toenails shine like the full moon, whose legs burn with the brightness of the sun? Who is she, who now speaks of soft smiles on us, and now fills all the quarters of the sky with the shouts of a terrible laughter? O Mother, Savior of the helpless, thou, the slayer of sin, in thee do the three gunas dwell, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Thou dost create the world, you sustain it, and you destroy it. Binding yourself with attributes, you yet transcend them, for you, O Mother, are all." So we'll stop there for tonight. All right, just a couple of announcements. Here on the 11th, here on Thursday, Holy Mother Puja at 11 a.m., 12:45 there'll be the Homa fire, and then we'll all have lunch together afterwards of the food that's been offered on the shrine. And then on the 13th is Karma Yoga Day. Is that right? Yes, the 13th is Karma Yoga Day, and also this class again. Tomorrow, the lecture is going to be To Set Your Sail, given by someone named Swami Chidbrahmananda. That'll be here at 11 o'clock in the morning. All right. All of this just for us. Delightful thing. So I remind you, this is your place. This is your place to come and to build and to plant that field, to do that practice and leave that vibration here for others to be benefited by it. All right. Jai Ma.